The old house groaned under an October wind sweeping in off the river. Its clapboard siding, weathered by decades of secrets, rattled faintly as Lena stepped inside. She stood in the hallway, suitcase in hand, watching dust spin and the golden light leaking from beneath the closed studio door. Beyond it, the soft clatter of a loom rose and fell like distant thunder. She should have gone with her mother to greet her new stepfather in the kitchen, but the rhythm of that loom tugged at her like a melody draws a dancer. Quietly, Lena nudged the door open. Ivy sat at the loom, copper and burgundy curls piled atop her head. Her bare shoulders shimmered in the lamplight. The shuttle flashed between threads, lifting rows of cloth to reveal a single crimson line winding through fields of indigo. The sight struck Lena like a pin to the chest. She backed away, heart racing. She had promised herself she'd protect this fragile, newly stitched family. Her mother's voice echoed from years ago, pleading with Lena's father to stay. A warning lived in that memory. Pull one thread, and it all unravels. The next evening at dinner, Gerald's heavy hand landed on her shoulder. "Glad to have another craftsperson under the roof," he said. His words were warm, but his grip was firm. Lena smiled tightly. Her mother beamed, too relieved to notice the way Ivy's gaze lingered on Lena's hands, on the calluses left by years of sewing. Later, when Ivy offered her a cup of coffee, their fingers brushed. A spark jumped up Lena's arm. She mumbled an excuse and left early, claiming fatigue. The ache, however, throbbed deeper. By week's end, a rhythm settled in the house. The glass-walled sunroom off the kitchen became Lena's atelier. Morning light turned beads into tiny suns. Across the hall, Ivy's studio pulsed with dyed wool and citrus-scented steam. Their creative rhythms overlapped, the hiss of Lena's iron answering the hush thump of Ivy's loom. They traded tools under casual pretenses. One afternoon, Ivy appeared with turmeric-stained cheeks. "Can I borrow your shears?" Lena handed them over, lingering in the doorway. Ivy pointed to the cloth on her loom. "It's for my first solo show, December. I keep seeing a red thread running through everything, like part of a story no one says aloud." Her laugh faltered when their eyes met, then brightened again. Lena carried that sound back to her room, her pulse stuttering. 3 days later, a storm rolled in, cloaking the house in shadow. Power flickered. Machines sighed into silence. Ivy appeared in the sunroom holding 2 candles. "Room for me?" She set the candles between bolts of lace. The scent of orange peel wax warmed the air. They worked side by side, shoulders brushing, trading scissors and soft jokes. When Ivy reached across to smooth a piece of ivory satin, her necklace brushed Lena's wrist. Heat flared. Ivy's gaze dropped to Lena's lips and lingered, just for a moment. It stretched fragile as sugar glass, then shattered with a crack of thunder. That night, Lena lay awake counting raindrops, haunted by long-buried desires she'd once dismissed as childhood confusion. Now they unfurled like banners. She feared they would tear open her mother's hard-won happiness. The following Tuesday, Ivy burst into the kitchen, holding a half-finished jacket. "Gallery review in an hour. Can you pin the sleeve while I'm wearing it?" She slipped on the plum wool over a tank top. Lena knelt, steadying the fabric. Her fingers traced the seam, slowly, carefully. Ivy inhaled sharply, but didn't move. "You have magic hands," she whispered. The words settled warm in Lena's stomach. Then came the sound of Gerald's boots on the tile. "Everything okay?" His voice was light, but his brow tightened when he saw Lena's hand lingering on Ivy's arm. She straightened, dropping pins into a dish. "Just a quick fit," she said. Gerald's jaw flexed. "Ivy, grab my charger from the den." When she left, he turned to Lena. His voice was low. "I won't have tension under my roof. Don't mistake kindness for invitation." The reprimand stung. Still, it wasn't the explosion she'd feared. That night, Gerald cornered her in the hallway. Her mother and Ivy were nearby. "I welcomed you here," he said, not angry, but colder than disappointed. "Don't complicate things," by Ivy's hurt and her own fear. On the 4th day, she fled to thimble and thread, a cluttered shop by the river. Shelves overflowed with moon-shaped buttons and brass scissors. Miriam, the sharp-eyed owner, ushered her in. "Tell me to make tea," she said gently. The brew smelled of bergamot and memory. Lena spoke in fragments about the laughter under a door, the storm, the pins on the floor. Miriam listened, then opened a tin and handed her a spool of crimson thread. "Frayed, but unbroken," she said. "Flaws give it bite. Use it when you need courage." That night, Lena found her mother folding laundry. The truth spilled out, how she'd always loved women, how she feared ruining what they had. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "I lost myself, bending to other people's comfort," she said. "I won't ask you to do the same." She squeezed Lena's hand. The next night at dinner, Lena cleared her throat. "I need to speak honestly." Gerald paused, fork midair. Ivy stared at her water glass. "I care about Ivy more than I expected. I'm still figuring it out. But I'm not here to hurt anyone." Silence stretched. Gerald rubbed the bridge of his nose. Ivy's mother reached for his hand. "I don't get it," he said finally. "But I've seen Ivy light up when she talks about your work. That counts." He gathered the plates and walked away, tense, but no longer closed. Later, Ivy met Lena in the hallway, jacket over her arm. "Walk with me." They stepped onto the porch. River fog curled between the streetlights. When Dad reacted, "I got scared," Ivy said. "I've never liked labels, but liking you scares me, because it feels true." Lena reached into her pocket and held out the crimson spool. Miriam said flaws make it hold. Ivy pinched one end. They wound the thread around their wrists, tying a small knot. "Not a promise," Ivy said. "Just a start." Autumn bled into winter. They found quiet ways to grow, shared playlists, midnight cocoa, fingers brushing over fabric. Ivy's tapestry grew, storm-dark panels threaded with a single red line. Each night, Lena wove one row. Their mother hummed carols while pinning hems. Gerald watched football, sometimes glancing over with a thoughtful expression, as if recalibrating. In December, the morning of Ivy's show, snow dusted the streets. Lena slipped on the plum jacket. Inside the seam, crimson silk lined the edges. She touched the place where the hidden knot still lay. The gallery smelled of pine and fresh paint. Ivy's tapestry hung at the center, bold and quiet. Guests murmured about the red thread. In a quiet alcove, Ivy traced the crimson line. "Every thread passes under another," she said, "like the ways we keep touching." Her smile was tangled with fear and wonder. Lena cupped her cheek. Their kiss tasted of cinnamon and possibility. Outside, snowflakes spun under the streetlights. At the porch, Gerald opened the door before they knocked. He looked at their clasped hands, then stepped aside. "Soup's on," he said with a tentative smile. Weeks later, they all gathered to bind a quilt. Each square held a memory: satin from Lena's first gown, turmeric wool from Ivy's dyes, a strip of Gerald's flannel. And threading through it all, the crimson thread. Miriam sat in the rocker, offering quiet advice. Their mother stitched the border, laughter in the air. When the final knot was tied, Ivy wrapped the quilt around Lena's shoulders. "Feel how it holds," she whispered. Lena pressed her forehead to Ivy's. Outside, the ice on the river cracked, the first promise of spring. And within the soft hum of the house, Lena realized the family she'd feared breaking had stretched to fit them all, flawed, frayed, but unbroken, like the crimson thread that bound every seam.